So I guess before we get started, I just want to do an informal survey. How many of you guys have used some kind of WordPress or Squarespace or, yeah, okay, a couple of you. What's the other ones? Wix. There's a bunch of kind of like the kind of modern, we make the page for you, just give us your content, and then maybe you can tweak it a little bit here and there. So today we want to kind of look at taking a little more control of that process, I think. And we're going to do that with WordPress, and you don't have to do it with WordPress. I know there's some very cool other options out there. We just happen to have kind of a support system in place for WordPress here already, even just like our help desk. Like people just more or less can know their way around basic WordPress, so you could get some help if you needed. But I don't mean to say like this is the best way and that's all there is, because I know some really great portfolio sites that have been on Squarespace or Wix or stuff like that. So it's really just kind of like what's your flavor, what's your style, what works for you, and you may find a really great theme that may work somewhere else, and that's totally fine. We just want to kind of walk you through some of those basics of getting started. And for taking that in mind, there are like as you're coming out of college and you're thinking about like, oh, I need a portfolio site, I need to have this to go find a job, and it's going to be your new basically resume, right? Like that's your digital version of yourself. There's LinkedIn as well as is a major job catcher as well. So start filling out your LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn, like I would always recommend that as well. But also just having your own website is a really strong, it kind of shows that you have this multifaceted, like, hey, I'm a digital like native person. I can do things on the web too, even like maybe put a little code into your website to make it look cool or do something neat. So that's generally the idea with why I recommend making portfolio websites. I have one myself, which I've actually just took it down because I'm not currently looking for work and all the stuff on there was outdated. So I was just like, I was going to show it to you as an example of how I got this job, but I forgot I had let the domain expire, and so it's long gone. But with that in mind, so there's a few options out there. You're going to want to start, first of all, with finding hosting. There's two things out there. I don't know how familiar you are with kind of how the web works today. You need to have a hosting plan and a domain that is tied to that hosting. And what I mean by hosting is that there is going to be a company that has a computer server somewhere that you're going to rent space on that is on the internet that lets you access it remotely and lets everybody go to it. And then they've also separated websites. So like yourname.com is going to be a separate process where you register a website and then you tie it to a hosting. A lot of hosting companies do this for you, right? Like if you go with them, they say, hey, host with us, we'll give you a free domain. And so that way you're kind of like ready to go as far as putting a portfolio together. So there's a few of them out there. I thought I'd start with one is called Bluehost. I know some of you may have heard this. We have had stuff on Bluehost even in the digital lounge here. I think they currently have the best deal, like right here, $3 a month for web hosting is pretty low. I know they're in constant competition. I remember when I first started with Bluehost, I was paying $8 a month. So $3 a month is awesome. In general, you can get the basic package, especially for a portfolio. Like if you're just going to have your .com or your .whatever, and that's all you're going to put there, it's going to give you plenty of space. Bluehost is really great with support as well. And so if you can grab just a year of hosting for $36, like I don't think it's too much of an investment for having a portfolio. Especially if they give you that domain with it. So they do. You can see that here. They say free domain. So as you kind of walk through their sign-up process, you'll look for... So here's their kind of different upselling options here. Gosh, I can't believe Plus is only $5 now. Like I'm on Plus. I was on Plus, and it was $12 a month. It's great deals right now. That's all I'm saying, But the basic will do you fine. Like if you look at this web space, 50 gigabytes is plenty for a portfolio. You could put full movies on your website. Like I wouldn't worry anything about that anymore. You get your own email account, all that kind of stuff, all in that basic $3 a month. So yeah, you can see normally it's $8. So that's definitely a recommendation. I personally, I just left Bluehost because they kind of did something shady behind the scenes. It's another story, but they got bought up by a big like hosting like conglomerate, and I don't like that big business stuff. They used to be kind of like their own Bluehost, like independent people who like were against conglomerates, and then you know how the story goes. Incorporate or die. So they got taken over, and then they started implementing some kind of weird like rules, and then they took my website down because they said it had spam and malware, and I was like, no, I don't, and give it back, and they wouldn't. So like we had a big breakup, and I left, and I moved to a site called SiteGround, and that's, after my own research, I can totally recommend them. They are not part of this big, massive hosting conglomerate conspiracy either. They are a smaller crew of people who are just passionate about giving people a great experience with their hosting. I've been with them for 4 months now and haven't had any complaints, so another great option. Their hosting packages might be a little more, okay, it's $4 a month, so it's another $1, but I think, again, it's very cheap just to like buy a year and just not worry about it for a year to get you started there. You'll see their space is a little more limited, like just 10 gigabytes for that one. I still think just for portfolio, that's completely more than enough. I've had trouble filling. I have this plan here with 20 gigabytes, and I can't fill it up myself. And I have tons of stuff. I've got movie websites, portfolio websites. My wife's got a website there. My dad's got we've got like 7 or 8 websites, and we've never come close to filling it with like web space. So again, that should be the least of your concerns. So those are 2 options. And then the last one, I just need to mention it because they're everywhere and they're advertising and everything, is GoDaddy.com. And they also will give you probably a pretty great deal. I'm not sure what their latest is. $4 a month for their basic one. 100 gigabytes of storage, so twice as much as Bluehost. But I mentioned them. GoDaddy is also part of the conglomerate with Bluehost, so like if you have any ethical notions like me, then go with SiteGround. But regardless, they're all really great deals. They have all very good support 24/7. You could submit tickets on emails. You can call them if it's an emergency. You can chat with most of them. I think in general, between these 3, and you'll find others, but I can at least recommend that these will get the job done for you. As far as finding a host who's going to put your website together for you. And that's where you can start with your portfolios. Choose a host, and one will, I'm assuming they all just come with a domain, and then hopefully yourname.com or something cool.com is available for you. And that's kind of on your own. You'll test the waters and see what's available. But once you get that set up, they all kind of have their own different take on how to access your server space. And what we want to do is install WordPress on that .com or .whatever you end up with. And so I was just going to walk through that on SiteGround since I have the account there. And I'll show you more or less they're all going to be this kind of a interactive experience. So here's my accounts, and all of these hosting things, for the most part, are run with what's called cPanel. And cPanel is, if it would open for me, there it goes. cPanel is a way to interact with the server simply and with these kind of little graphical icons. So you don't have to know code. You don't have to know how to talk to your server. cPanel is a graphical version of interacting with your server. So it can do these very intimidating things with your space that you're renting, but you don't have to know any of the code, and you can just simply go, for instance, for us and our purposes, all of cPanels will have WordPress. GoDaddy has it, Bluehost has it, and SiteGround has it, an auto installer. So I'll go to WordPress, and I'm like, hey, I just want to install WordPress on my site. So do that. I'll hit install, and then this is where you'd put in your website if you had your website, and if you want to host it on www.yourname or just yoursomething.com, My personal website is pseudojustin. Today I was going to put it on my wife's website, julietedwards.info. .com was another like $12 a year. It's not worth it. So that's basically, you're just telling it where to put WordPress. And the other option will be in what directory. Some people would put a WordPress like in a like my.com/WordPress or /blog. There's also options to do what's here is called a multi-site, and that lets you put multiple instances of WordPress on your page. That's useful for if you think that you're going to have like separate pages for like, here's a blog that's all these things, here's a portfolio that's all these things, here's another story thing that's not those, and it's going to be another blog. So you can do multiple instances of WordPress on one.com. Just kind of ups the complication as far as like keeping straight which one you're logging into afterwards. But for now, I'm just going to do the basic one. Site name, by default, my blog, my WordPress blog, that's fine. And all this, again, this is all going to be talking to your server, and it's going to install WordPress. So you don't have to worry about any of that like FTP stuff or how to like interact and know any coding. So for today's purposes, I'm just going to keep this simple. I'm going to make my admin username admin. And my password, that's fine, I'll take it. So I'm just going to copy that, save it somewhere here in case I need it later. And then, yeah, the admin email, you can put your own email there too, but if you've already set up email at your .com or whatever, you can have it sent to there as well. English, plugins, themes. Again, all these are things you can figure out later once it's installed. There's advanced options to get into like actual messing with your server and the database named. Like, I'm not going to worry about any of that. Generally, you probably won't either. I'm just going to hit install. And it's going to do its thing. And if for some reason this is broken for you or it doesn't work, there is a manual way to install WordPress. It's much more involved, and it does. Okay, that works. Success. And we do have a walkthrough for that on our website here. So annenbergdl.org is our website of our space. And we have a how to manually install WordPress on your server tutorial. So if that does come up, just check out the site. And our old web guy, he graduated, but he's done a step-by-step for installing WordPress manually, literally. So very cool. But I'm glad the auto installer works. I'm happy with that. So let's just go ahead and check it out. So WordPress has been installed at their admin URL. So you're going to want to bookmark your admin URL because that's where you're going to log into WordPress. Because if you just go to the website, let's just go to our website and see what it looks like now. It's just a standard WordPress basic install. So every WordPress you install will just look like their basic blog look, and has fake content there and everything. And that's all stuff we can mess with later, but it's just good to go to your site and be like, hey, WordPress is up and it's working. So, but I'm going to go to this admin link, and that will let us actually start messing around with WordPress and get to know what is called the dashboard. Before I get into this, any questions on hosting and domain stuff? Yeah. WordPress is free, yes. So it's just part of my hosting plan already. So it's built into the connection there. Yeah.
So I have like something on Wix, but I just use like the free with the ads, and like they have their own domain, and they always say like, oh, pay this much to own your own domain. Is that like, what does that have to do with hosting if I do that but don't have like a host?
Yeah, so you're probably paying to get rid of ads, and I'm not sure how much Wix does let you mess with the code and the look of it after the fact, but they're kind of like, give us the rights, pay us to give you the keys so that you can mess with all the stuff that we're going to look at here in the dashboard. So that'd be the main difference, I think, is Wix wants to upsell you for access to those special features. So, and WordPress.com is also a free blogging kind of site that you can put a portfolio together. I'm logged in, so it's going to show me that. Let me see if I can log out. And technically, WordPress.com is not associated with WordPress itself. it's another company who's kind of licensed WordPress to use it as their own Wix, Squarespace kind of thing. WordPress.com is the marketplace where you can buy blogs and hosting through them. WordPress.org is the actual organization that has built WordPress and has support for WordPress, and that's where you would go to find help and questions and any WordPress stuff. So those are the main. Always get those confused. Is the .org is like the open source like company of people who just love WordPress and they built it together, and then the .com is the let's make some money off of this side of things. So. So when you host it yourself, you're on the .org. So I have access to the dashboard, whereas WordPress.com would not give you access to the dashboard unless you paid for it. So they kind of keep it behind these paywalls, so hoping that you do give them. WordPress.com wants your $4 a month rather than a hosting service. So they're kind of like a hosting service in one / blogging. So, yeah. It's always just be creative as you can. If you have like a nickname, or maybe there's like something you want to start calling yourself, like that's kind of when it is to make the decision of, what umbrella do I want myself to be. I think I mentioned earlier, mine is pseudo Justin. It became my moniker. I don't even remember, it's a long story, but I just liked the word pseudo and I just threw it on in front of my name, and suddenly I was able to get websites, and because Justin was pretty popular and Justin whatever was always taken, but pseudo whatever was never taken. So I just found it, and that's who I am now. I've been that for about 15 years, and there you go. But maybe it's time to come up with your own kind of nickname. .com. Anything else before we get into WordPress Dashboard? Great. So I don't want you to be too overwhelmed by that hosting stuff. They really do make it easy and hold your hand through that process. And if you do need to refresh it real quick, we are recording this. We'll put it on the website tomorrow if you want to just go back through it real quick. But it's pretty simple just to hit that auto installer, and suddenly you have WordPress on your website. So like right now, if my wife went to her website, she'd be mad because her stuff's gone, because I just put WordPress there, but I backed it up and I said I'll put it on afterwards. I just didn't have a website to play with for you guys, so you can thank her. So this is the dashboard. It can kind of look overwhelming. It's kind of all panel based, but for the most part, on the left are all of your options for changing the settings of WordPress, and you can change basically anything at all. You're gonna look at your content, the way it's arranged. What's called themes is gonna change the look of your website, and you can customize all of those. You can get into the code if you are a little bit of a code head and start messing around. But WordPress is written in PHP, which is a language that talks in HTML and kind of makes calls to different pages as you build content for it. And then also it's a style sheet that assesses those PHPs, and that's how it delivers it to the web. So like right now we have a style sheet that tells this website, like, hey, use that background image, use this, it's PHP to say what's the title, what's the subtitle, and these posts are individual blog posts that again are their own PHP calls, but again, just not to get too lost in the woods of that. But if you do start going down the path of WordPress love, that's where you're going to want to start researching, is get to know PHP and CSS much better, and that will give you even more control over your WordPress experience. For example, our website here at the Digital Lounge is a complete custom built from scratch WordPress installation. So everything you see here was written in code by our web people using WordPress. So it's all their PHP plugins and pages and posts that we've built, and they've just used WordPress to kind of get it out into the world and deliver it with that style sheet. So again, not too many tech terms. I don't want to overwhelm you. Let's just start taking a look through the dashboard and kind of look at what all of our settings were. So once you get WordPress installed, you're like, hey, great, I got my .com and I'm ready to start putting my portfolio together. And there's a couple of ways to approach that. You could mess with the look of your site. Let me go ahead and get that back up there. And I know a lot of people who would want to obsess over what it looks like and how your portfolio plays on the web. But I think it's generally, I would suggest getting some content in there first so that you're not looking at a preview of dummy content. Like, you want to know what your stuff looks like on your page. So we're going to want to start with just getting some content on there first, and then later we can start saying, all right, let's look at all the millions of different looks that your website might have in the end. So for starters, we're just going to go down to the settings here, and I would always suggest starting there just to make sure that all of the settings are what you want, because it's going to have all these defaults in there, and you'll notice. But in the WordPress general settings, that's where you can change your site title. So my blog, what if I called it Juliet's Portfolio? I'm just going to let it still be her page. I'm just going to add it up there. She is a tagline. That's kind of like the words that will show up under the title. Like right here, right now it's my WordPress blog. Very often a portfolio site would be a description of yourself. You know, like, what are you? I would say like storyteller, editor, visual effects. So those are like 3 things she's into, and maybe that's what her portfolio would be about. Depending on what you guys are going into, I don't know if you're communications, journalism, management, whatever you're going into, that's a great place to kind of like get a one-stop shop for like, here's who I am, here's what I'm into, and like that's your title and your subtitle are a great way to start for that. So I'll get that for her. Date format, so like you can change that if you end up overseas and you need to swap month and day, you know, stuff like that. You can do all that here. Time format, all that's fine. By default, the week starts on Monday. I don't know why. I'll go ahead and switch that to Sunday. And we'll save those changes. So those are general settings. You go to the writing settings. We don't have any content yet, so these settings we might want to revisit later, like default post category and format. We don't have anything yet to even categorize, so we can kind of skip some of that for now. They do have options to post via email, so you can set this up and literally just send an email to your website and it will make a blog post for you, which is very cool as well. I've done that a few times when you just kind of don't have your computer, but you're like, I want to write a post. But nothing else that I would change here. I think, yeah, that's fine. We'll go to reading settings. So this is where you change kind of, again, with the look of your page. So when somebody lands at your page, if it's a portfolio and you have like different portfolio pieces, like how many do you want to show up at once? Like right now, blog page shows at most 10 posts. Syndication feed shows at most 10 items. Those are just kind of like general, like when people land there, how many of your stuff are they going to see? And that will, again, change based on your design. Like some designs might be like the grid view, and you might like it to be perfectly square, so maybe you want 9, so it's like 3 and 3 and 3, or maybe 12. Again, it all just kind of depends on getting back to these settings once you've started to get a sense of your design. Here's another very important one here, search engine visibility. So this is by default, Google will start looking at your site and saying like, hey, that's these words that might show up in a Google search. So like your Google, your name, you might start seeing your blog there. If you don't like that and you like a little more privacy and you don't want to show up in search engines, they have a checkbox here which will say, hey, robots, stay away. And again, as you see, it's not a WordPress thing guarantee. It's up to the search engines to honor the request. So I'll go ahead and discourage that. She's private right now anyways. The other options down here in settings, discussion. So this is an important question to ask based on what kind of site you have. So if it's just a portfolio site, I would turn off all comments. Like, you don't want random people, and it's usually, honestly, it's going to be robots and spam that are going to comment on your stuff and try to get you into, like, I don't know, some kind of scandal. This is where you do those settings, is in the discussion settings. And this very first one here is default article settings. Allow people to post comments. If you uncheck that, then suddenly site-wide nothing can be commented on. And so that will save you a lot of spam and I don't know. In general, if you're like me and you kind of get caught looking at comment sections of places, like, it's mostly a bunch of trolls trying to, like, spread hate. And I don't like that on my own page. Like, hey, I saw your reel. It looked terrible. That was dumb. Like, I don't need to hear that anyways. So I'm just going to keep their comments off in the first place. You can always turn on comments for an individual post if you are interested in getting feedback, stuff like that. So, but yeah, these are just kind of all the settings for getting that into your page, and it will email you like, hey, somebody commented, blah, blah, blah. There's also avatars. So, like, depending on your theme, your blog post might have a little picture of yourself, and you can go through there and kind of attach a picture to your author picture. But that's fine there. And then one other thing, I'll just check permalinks here. These WordPress settings are, you'll see what is a portfolio entry in this case going to look like as a URL. So, like, if you wanted to send somebody just to one particular portfolio post, you would send them to this website, and you can kind of change what that looks like. So there's like P123, or the name of the post with the date, or less dates, or the categories. I often like just post name. So that's your website / the title of your post. That's a very handy way to remember it too. So, like, if you do have a reel, just FYI, tomorrow we're doing a workshop on cutting reels. If any of you are video heads, you might have like your website.com/reel, and that would be the name of that post and also the address to get to that directly. So it's always handy. I like going by post name, so I'll save that there. And so that's just kind of the walk through the settings. And that, I think, by addressing all of those things, it kind of starts getting you in the WordPress mindset of having to start thinking about how stuff is displayed and what is commentable and what things should look like as URLs, all that stuff. Because that's generally, I think that's going to be part of your undertaking as a WordPress host. You've installed WordPress because you want control and you want more options. And so these keys to those options are a great place to get started. So I guess without any further ado, let's go ahead and start getting some dummy content on there, just so we have something to play with. And in WordPress, you'll always have these two options, posts and pages. Media is where you can upload photos and videos and all that stuff, and you can do that en masse and get a bunch up there at once. I generally just upload the media for a post at a given time. So if I have a post that's a great photo I want to share, I'll just upload the image to that post. Media is just a way to access that after the fact. So there's two different options here, posts and pages. And the main difference between that is a page is going to be permanent content that's always on your WordPress. So very common pages are about pages, contact pages. In general, those are the two main ones. Any content that is generally stationary and doesn't need changed or updating. Posts are going to be a blog entry, a portfolio entry, something that's like more timely, more like, hey, this week this is what I did this week, and that would be a post, rather than a page which should kind of live on forever in infamy. So that's the main difference in kind of deciding what should go where. I'm going to start with adding an about page just to get something built. So right now there's no pages there, so you'll get the hang of the text entry look of WordPress in no time. It's pretty straightforward. Pages, I'm going to hit add new, and this is where you'll put in your content. So enter title here. This is going to be about, and then you can grab a bio. You can write something clever or funny. In this case, let me grab my own. I don't think my wife has a bio, actually. I'm just going to grab mine. Temporary. So that's like a brief summary of kind of like what I'm into and what this page might be about. And I'm going to add a picture to that just because. And generally in portfolios, it's always nice to have like a little headshot of some kind. You know, people like to see who they're looking at. That's why LinkedIn generally requires it. You can add one here, and I'm just going to add media, and that will let me upload a photo. And a couple ways to do that. You can select and actually navigate there. I'm just going to click and drag the one on there. They've done a lot of that in the last few years with WordPress. Just let you just click and drag on whatever you need. It'll make it simple. So that's kind of how you add media. You can adjust the size, how it appears on your site in that page. And then the last thing is just insert into the post. And that's me upset on Santa Claus. And in general, WordPress is written in what's called what you see is what you get style, also known as WYSIWYG. And in general, that is what you type here will be basically what it looks like on the internet. For any code heads out there, you can switch it to a code version. So if you hit on text, that will switch, and then you can actually see like, oh, okay, I recognize this stuff. Like IMG is going to embed that photo. But I like the visuals because I know that that's what it's going to look like. All these tools here are basic word processing tools. There's even more hidden under here to get really crazy with it. But just, again, by practice, you'll start to get the hang of like what the word processor in WordPress is like. But I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to go ahead and straight publish it. Why is it looking up confused? Page published. Okay. So I'm going to view this page just because I'm curious what it looks like on the internet. And this is a page look that I'm not happy with. And part of that is to do with my current theme. And a theme is how your website is going to deliver your content. And right now my default theme is, hey, pages should look like the name of the page on the left and then the content on the right, but like in this narrow column. And that's something I'm upset about. I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I need to find another theme. I need to change the look of my website, basically. So you may find that right away like I just did. Maybe you like some of the default themes looks, but that's just like pages look weird to you. But again, I created a page, and that's going to be separate than these blog posts that are on the home page. So let's go ahead and go back. Not there. How are we doing on time? Okay. Not the best, but back to my pages. So that's my about, and I'm going to add a few posts now just real quick just to get some other content on there because I don't want their default stuff there. I want to put my own things there. So I'm going to go to posts, and these are generally what will show up on your home page. And if you have a portfolio, a post is going to be like a portfolio item. So like it's this story, it's this article, it's this photo, it's this video, and all of those would get their own posts. So by default, I have this WordPress resources at SiteGround. That's one of their, just automatically put it in there. I'm going to trash that because I'm going to start from scratch. And so with a post, I'm going to start building out my portfolio. So just do a few quick ones here. My bro stretching. Sorry about that. So this is a silly GIF of my brother stretching. I'm going to insert it into my blog, and I'm going to publish it. Looks great to me. Like I might add a little something like, hey, it's my bro and it's weird stretching. I can't type, but whatever. Just give it a little caption, whatever. And then in a post, you generally kind of want to walk through your right side column to make sure you're addressing all the options available to you, just so you know if you want them or don't want them. My brother would be so mad at me right now. I'm sorry. So if you go down these, we have publish. That's where we can like say, hey, I'm happy. Let's put it on the internet. There's format. So based on the theme, and again, we'll get to themes at the end because I think it's kind of a last effort kind of step in the process. That's super important, but based on the theme, these different formats might change the look of your post. For now, I'm just going to set standard. And categories. So categories are also a very great way to organize your website. If you do have like a lot of photos and then a lot of videos and a lot of different kinds of media, you can add those categories to then also look at your page through those kind of different lenses. So I'm going to add a new category here and just say animated GIFs, because I might have a bunch of these and I'm going to start putting all those posts in that category. So go down tags. Now tags are, you may feel like they're redundant to category, but they're actually more for search engines. So I would tag this with, think of like YouTube tags, like how would I get people to find my video? Be like silly, stretching. So these are more like search engine terms. Like how do you want people to search on Google and end up at your blog post? That's a way to optimize your search engine results. Brother, black and white, everybody hashtags that on Instagram. GIF. So basically I did walk through, I'd come up with, you could come up with so many, the more the merrier. And this last option is actually very important. This is a new, in the last couple of years, development for WordPress, is that posts all have what's called a featured image. And a featured image is what's going to show up around your post if you're not at the post. How to explain that? So like when you land at your website, it's going to have a list of your posts, and each of them will have an image associated with it on your homepage. And then you'll click that image, which will then take you to the actual post. So that's what that featured image is. It's saying what's going to show up on your website, on your homepage, to get people to click and look at the full version. So that's definitely an option to always consider, that most posts should all have a featured image. In this case, the featured image is the same as what's in the post, which is fine with me. And if I'm happy with that, I'm going to publish that as my first blog post and go take a look and see where we're at. Thanks for coming. Yeah. So we now have our blog, and here's the first blog post, and you'll notice it's doubled up. So hey, it's my bro and his weird stretching. So that's your first clue that your theme is not right for you, the default WordPress theme. And that's something, again, we'll address, because content should be first and then start messing with the look. Because if you start messing with the look, you don't know if your content looks great there yet. So always kind of keep that in mind, that those are two separate workflows. So with that in mind, let me just do real quick 2 more posts because we are running out of time. Let me put this one here is the photo. It's the same. Pretend I added categories and tags, that's fine. And then one more here. Galana span, okay. Another photo. Are you happy? Very cool. Publish that. Okay, so we now have 3 posts. And I want that specifically because, again, I like the grid point of view, and that's kind of where we're going to go with the theme look. Let me just refresh and just double check. I've got 3 posts. And again, these are all doubled up because there's a featured image and then there's the post itself. And that's a setting to go look into to say, hey, don't use featured images or don't use the post excerpt. based on this theme. If you like that theme, then you're going to have to go in and change some settings. And WordPress gives you that power. It's just by default right now, it's like, hey, show the post and the featured image. And that's why it kind of looks dumb with that doubling up. But again, that's a good problem to kind of show, because I'm sure you would run into it in general, because this is WordPress's default theme this year. Every year they put out a new one. So that's just kind of one of their headaches. And you just deal with it. And to deal with that, we're going to change our theme. Finally, we can walk through this. So themes are different style sheets. CSS is the term if you're starting to get to know coding, which takes your content and adds different styles to them. That says, for instance, all the text should be this font in this size. All the images should be centered or left or right justified or have a border. The style sheet is what kind of changes everything site-wide, how it looks on the internet. So the theme is going to give us the keys to start changing the look here. So I'm going to go and start looking at their theme shopper of sorts, and that's over here under Appearance, Themes. And as you can see, we have 3 themes installed right now: 2016, 2015, 2017. You could take a look at your blog and use this live preview to see if, like, oh, maybe that's how I want my blog to look. So this is like last year's theme. I don't think it's working for me either. Let's X out of there. I want to go shopping for one of those cool portfolio themes, and that's where we can go into Add New. And this kind of opens up WordPress's it's not a marketplace, because all this is free, because if you've installed WordPress yourself on your hosting, all these themes can be installed for free that show up here. Features. So you kind of want to go like, hey, if you find a portfolio that you love and you just kind of want to copy that layout, that's where I would start. Like, I would just kind of like, hey, what's a cool look for like somebody else who's got my similar job I'm after, and what was their portfolio page like? For me, I like grid layout. So they give you these theme filters to let you kind of say, like, I just want a certain kind of theme, barrel it down for me so I just see those results. And then subject, portfolio. They literally had created one called portfolio. So I think that's a very cool place to start. Is let's look at portfolio grid layout themes, and I'll apply those filters. Not yet. So this is going to give me a bunch of previews of different themes and just different looks. And you can test any of these out just by hitting preview. But it's going to preview their dummy content. If you want to look at it with your stuff, you have to install it first. So let's find one we like and install that. I'm just looking for like one of those cool grid. I kind of like this one, Draft Portfolio. Might install it just for fun. You can install as many as you want. So like, okay, that installed. All right, moving on. These are so minute, like it won't even come close to mattering. You could have hundreds of themes and it's not going to matter. Hitchcock, that's the one I was after. I love Hitchcock. I used to use it for a portfolio a couple years ago. The designer's very cool. So I installed it. I'm just going to go ahead and activate it, and that will turn it on. So now when I go to my blog, it's going to look completely different because I've changed the theme. So remember, this is WordPress's default one. Just going to refresh now that I've changed my theme, and voila, I've got a completely different look at the touch of a button. And that's kind of the glory of having your own access to the WordPress, is that rather than WordPress.com, where you're going to pay for a theme monthly, and then if you want to switch, you got to like having WordPress installed on your own host lets you have access to all of those themes, and you can switch around all day long till you find the one you like. And like for me, that took like 3 seconds to install it and get a look at it, and already I love it, like much better than the default one. So we have our title here, a description of her, and these posts aren't doubled up anymore. They're actually just using the featured image, and then you can click on the post to go look at the post. So it keeps that featured image as like the head of your story, and then here's your content. So Hitchcock I really love if you like grid layouts. First, other thing I want to do is I want to change this background image. It's a huge winter mountainscape. That might not tell my story, so I want to find one that I'm after. And all themes have this last option up here. We'll walk through these real quick in customize. And that's where you can change so many things without having to know code, which is what's so cool about it. So starting with just site identity. So I'm going to go ahead and take over and say this is now my portfolio instead of my wife's. And I can hit save and publish, and that's already live now, so I can refresh, and that will now be Justin's portfolio. Again, that's all in site identity. If I go back, I can change the colors and the layout. So this is the accent color, that kind of green that's showing up when I hover over stuff. Let me go ahead and change that. I don't know. I've been into purple lately. Let's get a cool purple. And refresh. Now it's purple, and it doesn't play very well with the background. So again, I need to change that background. You could add a logo as well if you do have a logo. Let's just pretend that this is my logo and just kind of see how that shows up. So that would be showing up above there. And again, this is all based on Hitchcock, the name of the theme. It's based on what Hitchcock says for these things. So a different theme might put the logo somewhere else, or might put it at the bottom. Like, every theme's going to be different for you. So it's all just kind of trial and error to find, hey, what's the theme that's going to do what I want? I don't like that logo right now. I'm just going to go ahead and remove it. That's fine. Header image. So this is, as you can see, this is going to be that background there. And let me go ahead and get, I think I wanted this one initially, so let's try that. Can crop and accept. So that's now the background. That's cool. Purple shows up a little better on those clouds, so okay. Rescued another little design option. You can, in this theme, you can randomize uploaded headers. So like I could get a bunch of different header backgrounds, and then those might be cycling through in the background, kind of like as a slideshow, just kind of passing the time while somebody's sitting there. And again, that's just a feature of this theme. Each of those might be different. Menus, that's kind of the last thing to go babysit, is once you've got some content up there. A menu is where you're going to send people to pages or to your social media. So let me go ahead and add some stuff there. So primary menu and social menu. It doesn't look like set which menu. I don't have any menus yet, so I actually have to go create some menus. That's why nothing's showing up. So add a menu. I'm going to say home. 1 minute. I'm going to put my home menu in the primary, and I'm going to add those pages I created to the home page. So I didn't create it, but I'll add a contact page too. And save that. So I now have, if you look across the top, that's where the menu is in this theme. Sometimes the menu's under the header, sometimes it's on the side. Again, it all depends on what you end up with. And then I also wanted to add social media. So let me add social media menu. And this location is going to be the social menu. I'm going to add some things there. And so for me and my social media, I'm going to add Twitter. And again, that's just the default for now. There's Instagram you could put in there, you know, Instagram / whatever your name is. Add to menu. Facebook, add to menu. And that's all cool. Save that, and let's kind of see where they end up putting social menus. Thought they put it down here. So Hitchcock puts it looks like it's using where is it? Let me refresh. Oh, there it is. So it finally shows up. The social menu puts them here in these little buttons by default. It has the icons for you, so you don't have to go hunting and finding the right ones. It can go ahead and take a look and see, hey, now you've got your social menu. And that's, I've been working on Hitchcock for 10 minutes, and I'm pretty happy even with just that. Like, I've got a menu with about content. I've changed my title, my background. I've got social media already, and that's WordPress that kind of lets you go and play and have all that fun. Yeah.
Is that linked to your social media?
Yeah, so that would go, like, I didn't put in my social media, but it would go there if I put in my name there. Yep, so that would go straight to wherever you tell it to go. Any other questions? Great. Let me see. Yeah, it was the menus. And I'll go back to my, nope, customize. So that is all under your customize menu. The last thing we need to show there, because customize will let you do those minute little changes. Static front page is the last option. Next last. You can put just a page that's going to be like, hey, when somebody lands here, let's have it start here. And it doesn't make sense to have it start at the about page, but that's fine. Like, hey, welcome. Maybe there's like a welcome page you want people to land at. Contact actually doesn't exist, so that's why it's blank. So yeah, Hitchcock, again, that's just this theme. That's the different options it's going to let you have. I like latest post because, again, that's my portfolio view. Is I like having a grid layout personally. And the last one here, and this is for the code heads. So if you find you don't like some of the code or the style, like let's say, for instance, even like spacing between this grid, and if you know how to find that spacing style, you can add and adjust that here in the additional CSS. For those that don't know, if you want to start getting into more coding, I would start, again, WordPress is a great place to start because it does give you this additional CSS where you can just try stuff out and see what random thing happens. The other thing is I use Chrome. It's called, where did they put it? The developer tools. It's down here under developer. You can view the source of a page, but if I turn on the developer tools, it opens up all of the code and all of the styles and all this crazy stuff, right? And again, don't be overwhelmed. My favorite thing to do with this, though, is to take this tiny button here, select an element in the page, and inspect it. So if I just click on that, and then I start hovering over different parts of my page, that's going to give me a sneak peek at the code that I can then start messing with in that additional CSS. So like if I tried to find the space between them, like I don't know if I could quite find it. I know I could change like the space above this right here. So this is, and if you find something you want to change, if you click on it, it will take you right to it. And I can see that class, credits, section inner. Like I know that this area of the page is being styled by credits. Now I can go here and change the credits class. Again, that's for code heads would know what that stuff is, but a class you start with a period. Let's say I wanted to add a bunch of more space on top of that. So I just went to the credits class. Again, this is all in the additional CSS, and I made this space here 100 pixels. Just by, again, if you know code a little bit, you can start doing little tweaks there like that. Oh, like maybe 100's too much. Maybe it should be more like 70. And it has that live preview for you there. So those are some of those great tools that get you going to it. Absolutely, yeah. So I want to wrap up there. I'm Justin all this time, by the way. I do have an email here. USC is edwa717. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address them. If you do have a minute, go to this bit.ly link and give us a review here. We loved hearing your comments on workshops here. But with just an hour, like we just scratched the surface, right? But even in that little amount of time, I built a portfolio page. And I'll go delete it. My wife's stuff will get it back up there, don't worry. But again, this will be available. We'll put the video up tomorrow on the Annenberg website and the Annenberg DL website, and you can revisit it there if we move too fast for you. But again, thank you so much for coming out, and good luck building your portfolios.